All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're taking a deep dive into a true icon of American air power, an aircraft that literally rewrote the rules of engagement, the Northrop Grumman B-2 Spirit. You probably know it as the stealth bomber.
Now this quote right here, it says it all. Think about that for a second. It's not just that the B-2 is stealthy, it's that it's the only known plane that can haul massive, long-range weapons and stay completely invisible to enemy radar. That is its one-of-a-kind and, let's be honest, pretty terrifying advantage.
So, what's its job? What was it built for? Well, it has one main purpose: to be a deep penetration strategic bomber. That's a fancy way of saying its job is to fly completely undetected through the most sophisticated, most heavily defended airspace on the entire planet to deliver its payload, which can be either conventional or nuclear.
Okay, so let's just quickly cover the basics. We're talking about a heavy strategic bomber with a two-person crew. Its whole identity is wrapped up in that subsonic flying wing design. That's the key to its low observable or stealth capability. The prime contractor was Northrop Grumman, and these incredible machines were built between 1987 and 2000.
And this is where it gets really wild. The B-2's versatility is just staggering. It can play two completely different roles. For a conventional mission, it can carry 80, that's 80, 500-pound GPS-guided bombs. Or, for a strategic mission, it can carry 16 B-83 nuclear bombs, each weighing 2,400 pounds. All of that power, all of that destructive capability is tucked away inside its internal bomb bays, completely hidden. So, the big question is, how on earth does it achieve this? How does it become a ghost in the machine? Let's break down the anatomy of this thing and really get into the tech that makes it invisible. Okay, here's the craziest part. The B-2's single greatest strength, that iconic flying wing shape, is also its biggest aerodynamic weakness. See, without a tail fin to keep it steady, the plane is naturally unstable. It just wants to tumble and spin out of control. A human pilot on their own could not fly this plane. So, how in the world did they solve that problem? The answer is a brilliant system called fly-by-wire. Basically, the pilot's controls aren't connected directly to the control surfaces. Instead, they send a signal to a computer, a quadruplex system, meaning it has 4 backups. That computer then makes thousands of tiny adjustments every single second to keep the B-2 flying straight and stable. It's constantly balancing the plane, way faster than any human ever could. Just look at this side-by-side comparison. You can see how every single choice was made for one reason: stealth. A regular bomber has a big tail fin. That's a giant billboard for radar. The B-2? None. Its engines aren't hanging off the wings on pylons. They're buried deep inside the airframe. It doesn't carry weapons on the outside. They're hidden in internal bays. Even the way it turns, using these things called split brake rudders, is designed to keep its radar signature as small as humanly possible. And let's talk about those engines. We're talking 4 General Electric F-118s, each one kicking out 17,000 pounds of thrust. But the real genius here isn't just the power, it's the placement. By burying them inside the wings, the B-2 hides its own heat signature from infrared sensors looking up from the ground, which makes it even harder to spot. Okay, so we've got this incredible, almost science fiction piece of technology. But a plane in a hangar doesn't do much, right? So how do they actually use it? Let's look at the operational side of things, how it gets from the hangar all the way to a target. You know, arming a B-2 is not a simple task. It's an incredibly precise, carefully choreographed procedure. They use specialized lifts and trailers to move the munitions. Everything gets inspected over and over, and then it's mounted onto rotary launchers inside the bomb base. Every single step follows exact instructions, because when you're dealing with this kind of hardware, there is absolutely zero room for error. And what gives the B-2 its unbelievable globe-spanning reach? It's all about these critical practices. Aerial refueling means it can stay in the air for missions lasting over 30 hours. Then there's something called hot pit refueling, which is amazing. It lets the plane land, get fuel with the engines still running, and take off again super fast. And of course, before any mission, every single system, from the flight controls to the engines, goes through a battery of intense pre-flight checks.
But you know, the B-2 didn't just appear out of thin air. It's part of a much bigger story. So to really get its importance, we need to put it in context, to look at the legacy of American stealth and see where things are headed.
This timeline really lays it all out for us. It all started with the F-117 Nighthawk, the first real stealth aircraft back in 1981. Then came the B-2, delivered to the Air Force in 1993. And looking forward, the B-2 is actually scheduled for retirement around 2032, which means the next generation is already on its way.
And when you put the B-2 next to its predecessor, the F-117, you really see what a quantum leap this was. The F-117 was a tactical attack jet, one pilot, a 5,000-pound payload. The B-2, a strategic bomber, two pilots, and a payload of up to 60,000 pounds. It was a jump from being a surgical scalpel to being a global sledgehammer.
So here's the bottom line. The F-170, with that weird faceted shape, was the proof of concept. It showed the world that yes, you can build a plane that's basically invisible to radar. The B-2 took that idea and scaled it up to a level nobody had ever seen, creating an aircraft with true global strategic reach.
And that story keeps going. The torch is now being passed to the B-21 Raider, which is being developed by Northrop Grumman as we speak. The plan is for the B-21 to eventually replace not just the B-2, but also the B-1 and the legendary B-52 bombers, kicking off a whole new era in American air power.
Which brings us to a final, really interesting question. The B-2 was born out of the Cold War, but it ended up dominating in a world its creators could have never predicted. So you have to wonder, in an age of hypersonic weapons, AI-controlled drones, and advanced space-based sensors, what will it even take to dominate the skies? Will a stealth bomber still be the ultimate trump card, or is the B-21 the last of its kind? That is something to think about.